name is Juan Trancoso, and I'm going to be demonstrating proper landing mechanics. So to understand landing mechanics, first you've got to understand the different phases of the jump. First, there's a starting position. You're going to want your feet just about hip width to shoulder width apart. I prefer around hip width. Next phase is going to be the counter movement, which is what you do before. The proper counter movement is going to be shoulder hyperextension, hip flexion, knee flexion, and ankle dorsiflexion. So it's going to look something like this. Next phase is the propulsion phase, which is where you actually, put force into the ground. After that comes the flight phase, which is where you're actually up in the air. Then the landing phase, lastly. So that's where I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate the proper jump. It'll look something like this, hopefully. And you notice how on the way down, I basically did everything that was done in the counter movement, but to cushion the shock of hitting the ground. When I landed on the balls of my feet lightly, so that I don't, twist my ankles. I landed, went into dorsiflexion, knee flexion, hip flexion, and shoulder hyperextension to absorb the shock. What you want to avoid with your athletes is you don't want to see your knees cave in when you land. That's a very common thing to see. If they can't be corrected with a couple of cues, then maybe they aren't ready to do, jumping activities quite yet. But yeah, that's what you need to cue your athlete for. Don't let their knees come too far forward when they land. You don't want to be landing like that. Make sure they sink their hips backwards and get those shoulders and arms backwards to cushion the fall, like that. Knee flexion, ankle dorsiflexion, hip flexion, shoulder hyperextension.